Respawn has already started development on its next Star Wars Jedi game because why not? We still haven't fixed the first game or the second game, which is why I wanted to make this video. Now, we are going to take a look at a report from Insider Gaming about this, about them actually diving in and getting ready to gear up and make another Star Wars Jedi game, but I wanted to talk about Jedi Survivor and exactly what's going on. We still have not seen patch 7. Patch 6 did nothing for performance on console. It still does not have a very good score on Steam. I'm getting screen tearing, massive stutters and hitches on my PS5. It doesn't matter if you run this in quality mode. It doesn't matter if you turn on VRR on your television, performance mode, no matter what settings you adjust. I even think this game has some sort of a very severe memory leak. Sometimes when I boot the game up for the first time, it runs totally fine, but if I go into the menus, if I do anything, save anything, or play for an extended period, even 5 minutes later, I'm noticing more and more problems, and the problems get increasingly worse the more I play. Again, pinpointing to me, or at least signaling that there is some kind of a memory leak, as that's typically what happens when a game isn't functioning properly, and that leads to degraded performance the longer you play. And again, these are significant issues. People saying that they're not seeing any issues, or I'm not having any issues with my game. You're just not seeing them. They're there. They've been reported on. This is a significant problem, and it's garnered a lot of criticism. And to me, I think the fact that they're already starting to gear up for the next game, this proves some of my theory correct, I think. I actually look at Jedi Survivor and claim that this is a Disney problem. Disney wanted a new Star Wars game every 6 months, and the timeline for this game coming out, it is just so crystal clear that it was not ready. And what added insult to injury was the director's comments. In an IGN interview in March of 2023, the director was discussing the release date of the game and said, "We stress test that date and we looked at what else was coming out around that same time. There was an option of if we wanted to extend it a little bit longer, but I said, no, we can get it done in 6 weeks." So that 6 weeks led to when it finally launched, right? They took 6 weeks. It's been 10 weeks since the game came out. So if you include the 6 weeks that they took plus 10, that's 16 weeks, and the game is still in a terrible state. And I think it's inexcusable. I honestly think that we should really start pushing for more consumer protections against digital purchases like this. We should be able to seek a refund. We should be able to get back our money. We bought a product that is not working, and they can simply walk away. The last game, Jedi Fallen Order, I had multiple people come to me and say they were still having issues with the game after all this time. There were still hitches and problems on PC, and it largely just went ignored. And it's looking like they're going to do the same thing with Jedi Survivor. It just doesn't seem to be a priority, and the average game pushing for optimization or bugs or trying to get things to work well, and 10 weeks into the game's release, still is just not there. And again, that's in addition to the extra 6 weeks that they took. So I found the director's comments to almost be laughable in light of what happened. And then their follow-up when they tweeted out and said, "We are aware that Star Wars Jedi Survivor isn't performing to our standards for a percentage of our PC players, in particular those with high-end machines or certain specific configurations." That's about as stupid as what the director said. That's simply not true. It's scoring bad and poorly everywhere. It's running terribly on next-gen consoles. This isn't a specific percentage of PC users. It's also not just high-end PC users. So the director's comments, I think, just add insult to injury, and then their incredibly dumb tweet when the game wasn't running well makes it worse. And now here we sit, 10 weeks after release, with a buggy game that will likely never crawl out of where it currently sits. This is an endemic problem to the game. It's system-wide. Something deep in this game's crust is not right. As I said, these aren't just little frame stutters. The whole game hitches and snags, and screen tearing on a console game, I've never seen anything like this before. It's truly abysmal performance in my opinion. Now, I want to look at this article from Insider Gaming because the optics on this is worse. It's like we're 2 months in, a little more than 2 months in on this release. Everybody just waiting for updates, waiting for transparency, waiting for you to actually fix performance issues. And now we're seeing that you're gearing up. You're starting development on the next Star Wars game. Again, I'm looking squarely at Disney for this problem, okay? So Respawn starts development of this next Star Wars game. A new job listing suggests that Respawn Entertainment has started its development on a third Star Wars Jedi title. Now listen, I understand that this is probably not the people that we're waiting on to fix Jedi Survivor. This is also, again, likely a corporate level decision. Hey, we got to make these timelines, we got to make these deadlines, and if that's going to happen, you got to start hiring, you got to start allocating resources and getting new talent in the door. So it's just the optics, in addition to hearing the director say they could have taken more time and they didn't, and the fact that they tried to act like it was only a small percentage of people having these problems. Just the lack of ownership, I think, is even more frustrating than just launching the game in such a bad state. The job listing was spotted by Reddit user Hard to the Core, who posted the job description on the Game Leaks and Rumors subreddit. The job listing is for a principal game writer and reveals development on the next game is already ongoing. Now, that's not surprising. If the Disney timeline theory that I've trotted out is correct, and that's why this game was pushed out before it was ready, it wouldn't surprise me at all if part of the reason it's not ready is they've already shoved people to the next project. They're already trying to daisy chain and skip the rock, across the water so they can start working on the next game. The job description reads, quote, "We're looking for a highly skilled principal game writer who will embrace our philosophy and share their hard-earned expertise to help us create an incredible Star Wars experience for our players in a fun third-person action-adventure setting. We're picturing an avid gamer who is passionate about storytelling through interactive narratives. Under the direction of the lead writer, the principal game writer will be responsible for writing dialogue, scenes, story treatments, and supporting text for the game." It honestly makes it worse knowing that the Jedi Survivor story is a good Star Wars story. I'm extremely frustrated as a Star Wars fan. I refuse to play a game that runs this poorly. It ruins the experience. Exploration and stuttering and tearing and hitching. You can't have that happening. It's immersion breaking. You're just constantly reminded you're playing some unoptimized, buggy mess. And especially if you get into fights, it gets even worse because you're going to make a mistake or you're going to get killed. Or you can't turn the difficulty up if a game is running this poorly. Every little frame, every little reaction counts. And I was just playing it on normal, and it's frustrating enough. I can't imagine trying to play this game with the problems and with the bugs on the higher level difficulties. I replayed Fallen Order and did that, and the issues in Fallen Order were not nearly egregious. Minor hitches here and there. Now, I know those hitches plagued PC quite a bit more, and to this date, I've had people report to me that those issues were never truly resolved. It seems that those issues were sort of imported over into the new game and somehow magnified. Something new that they were trying to do, making the game larger areas, more going on, more enemies, more, foliage, more density to the environments is likely compounding something that was already there that seemingly they never figured out even in the first game. Respawn Entertainment Star Wars Jedi Survivor launched to a rocky start due to its director refusing to delay the game further. Despite the issues at launch, Jedi Survivor still became the second biggest Star Wars launch on Steam. Respawn issued a statement shortly after the release on performance, PC, and bugs. Yeah, see, again, this is a freaking joke. This is a literal joke. Number one, it sold well on Steam, but how did it fare with respect to the refunds, right? People love refunding games, especially on Steam. That's one of the greatest things you can do on Steam is you can just get your money back. Jedi Survivor is currently sitting at a 62% on Steam. That's a joke for a game of this size. A 62% from this studio, from a game that's a sequel that you could build off of and learn from, a 62%. That's terrible. This is inexcusable. While there is no single comprehensive solution for PC performance, the team has been working on fixes we believe will improve performance across a spectrum of configurations, the company said in a statement on launch day. We're committed to fixing these issues as soon as possible, but each patch requires significant testing to ensure we don't introduce new problems. Yeah, what's amazing about that is you can do that when the game's not launched and paid for by the public. You could have taken ample time. it's been 10 weeks. Apparently, the 6 that you took weren't good enough, and the 10 cents isn't good enough. This is why you don't launch games before they're ready. This is why Disney's timeline, when I heard it, I immediately got concerned. That's a corporate level, product-driven approach to launching games, and it doesn't work, as evidenced by Jedi Survivor. You cannot push games out simply because some bigwig wants the game to hit a certain date. You end up damaging consumers. We're buying products that don't work and don't run well, and we cannot get our money back. If I bought any other product from any other outlet and it didn't work properly, I could return it and get my money back. Video games are in some weird protected class where they can shovel out literal garbage that's undercooked and broken, and no one is protected. I really, really hope this goes away. The idea that we are not protected as consumers unless we buy on Steam. Say what you want about Steam, but Steam protects its user base, because if you buy this game and it gets a 62%, you can get your money back as long as you didn't play it longer than 2 hours. I think this needs to be instituted on consoles as well. I know both Sony and Microsoft probably don't want to go that route, but consumers should be protected from this kind of nonsense. Despite the game now being months old, some players are still not satisfied with the game's performance. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm extremely irritated, if you haven't been able to tell from this video, which has led to some questioning Respawn's move. Of course, game studios work on multiple projects at the same time, and it's likely we won't be hearing of the next Star Wars Jedi game for several years. Will you be buying a third Jedi game? It says here at the bottom. Well, this is frustrating for multiple levels. As a Star Wars fan, it's frustrating to see a great story that could have turned into a wonderful trilogy sullied by really stupid decisions made by people in the high-up positions. This isn't on the developers. This isn't on the writers. This isn't on the people who cast the vision for another great Star Wars game. This comes down to higher-ups making really, really bad and reckless decisions with the project and a piece of property that they don't care about. That's what it ultimately comes down to. The first Jedi Fallen Order was some of the best Star Wars storytelling I've ever seen. I loved Trilla. I loved the climax. I loved the way they introduced everything at the end, and I couldn't wait to dive into this. And now we're looking at it coming out and, arguably being worse than the first game. And beyond that, their track record now for fixing this is not very good, if you really think about it. Even the first game, currently Jedi Fallen Order on Steam, it has an 89%. So they slowly got that thing back up to snuff, or at the very least, it must have been pretty good at launch. You're not going to be able to turn around 111,000 reviews and get that level of a score. You simply aren't going to be able to. It would take a very, very long time, and it would take more than a couple of patches. Currently, Jedi Survivor has 30,000 reviews. It has 1/4 of that reviewership base. Okay, you're not going to get 4 times that. I think this game failed and faltered on Steam to capture. A lot of these people probably have just returned the game. Now, hopefully, over the course of its life, they can get it working and maybe turn that score around, but it's currently sitting, like I said, at a 62%. So, at the end of the day, the real unfortunate thing, too, is that EA was starting to win back the public's trust, and now it looks like here we are yet again with a game that had no business launching. And I take it even, I think a little bit more personally because of how much I enjoyed the first game, and I'm a big Star Wars fan. So, we typically roll these videos over into a members-only debrief. If you want to discuss these topics with me or disagree with me, leave a comment below, but consider becoming a member. You can be a part of those members-only discussions. As always, at the very least, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.